Hello friends, welcome back to Heartscapes, where we are practicing Reiki and gardening at the intersection of self-reflection, spiritual practice, and social action. My name is Michaela. I'm glad that you're back with me. I am here doing another in the garden video, as you can see. This one kind of following the saga of my adventures with the garden tower planter that you see there behind me. My apologies for the wobbly camera. I am holding you today since I'm outside. You might be here because of my previous garden videos, which include my reviews of this vertical planter and another one, the green stock. You might be here because of my videos about the system of Reiki and practicing spiritual practices that reconnect us with ourselves and with nature. For me, these are one and the same. I practice my spiritual practices of Reiki and my spiritual practice of gardening for the same reasons: to reconnect my spirit and my community with the web of life, with the interconnectedness of all things, and to do that in a way that's active, that's integrated into our lives, not something that we do separate from our daily life. And so that's why I like to combine these gardening videos with my Reiki videos, because for me, gardening is one of those ways in which I'm actively bringing my spiritual practice into the world in ways that are both practical, pragmatic, and deeply spiritual to me. So with that, I wanted to give you a bit of an update on my experimenting with this particular vertical planter, the garden tower. In my review, which I will link at the end of this video if you want to find out more about why this planter did not work for me for its intended purpose, which is to grow vegetables in a vertical format. Various reasons. This product did not work for me for that reason. And in the end of that video, I mentioned that I had an idea on how I might repurpose it in a way that could potentially redeem it, even though it didn't work well for me for its intended purpose. So I just wanted to give you an update of that, show you how I've set it up, and then hopefully in the next segment, share some successes with you, but that remains to be seen. So let me take you over there. I'll tell you what I did. So I wanted to give you a bit of context for where we are in my garden. So I'm just kind of panning through the back half of my backyard garden. I'm going to do a thorough garden tour of the 3 different sections of my garden in a little bit. But for now, I just want to show you, there's the seat we were just sitting in as we open this video, and there is the back corner of my lot, and you see the garden tower there right next to my chicken coop. The girls are over there doing their thing right under this lemon tree, under this arbor, which is planted with passion flower vines. And so this is a corner of my yard that is pretty much in the shade most of the time. As you can see, it's getting a little bit of dappled afternoon sun right now, but for the most part, it stays pretty shady. And so that, of course, has made it challenging to grow your typical fruits and vegetables. And I've typically just had, not done really much with this corner, actually. I just recently planted these jasmine vines here that so far are doing a good job growing onto the fence of the chicken coop. So hopefully this fence will be a little nicer looking soon. But I haven't been able to get much to grow here. I did have my beehive here for a while. It proved to be too shady and too cold for them, and so I have now moved them out. I'll show you them in the garden tour. But I've been thinking about, what can I do with this shady corner? What are some plants that I can grow here that'll be nice looking, but also possibly give me some food? I thought about making kind of a fern forest here, various other thoughts. But about 2 months ago, I went to a workshop at Brown Sugar Farms in Sacramento, and they were teaching us about mushroom cultivation on a small scale, on a backyard scale, and in particularly kind of out in your yard. Oftentimes, small scale mushroom gardening or farming is done in these kind of controlled kits that are often kept indoors. There's benefits to that. It helps keep cross-contamination from wild funguses and bacteria out of it. It just keeps it kind of neater. But there's a lot of benefits to mushroom farming out in your garden. Not the least of which being that a healthy, robust fungal system and mycelial web system in your garden is something that the garden needs, something that the plants need for their own health. And they can be, with some care and attention, they can be well integrated into your plant foods in a way that give you another layer of food product and production. So I was super excited about that, and I've set up several different mushroom patches, and I'm trying out several different ways of growing different types of mushrooms, including your kind of traditional log, where you're inoculating a log with mushroom spores, a couple of different varieties there. But one of the most exciting things that I learned is that there are several mushroom varieties that are relatively easy to grow for beginners that actually prefer to grow in straw or in fresh mulch. So a kind of a loose woody material as opposed to needing to be inoculated into a log. And that opens up a variety of, different types of growing formats. And Nathan at Brown Sugar Farms talked about the popularity of converting something like an old laundry basket or one of those old flexible compost bins that are kind of a flexible plastic full of holes, something like that, into a small little mushroom farm where you fill it with layers of straw and mushroom spore and keep it moist, and basically you end up with a vertical tower garden of mushrooms, and they fruit out of those holes in the laundry basket or whatever you're using. And so as he was talking, I had this inspiration that I did indeed have an item that is tall and sturdy and designed for stacking, growing of some type, and that has holes all the way around, and that was a garden tower. My defunct garden tower that I had already decided I do not want to grow vegetables in because of the various problems I had with it that I've already outlined. So that was exciting because the other thing I had thought about possibly growing in this was potatoes, because they similarly can do well in a vertical format where you're stacking the potatoes and straw or soil or mulch, and fill this thing up with potatoes. I thought about doing that, but potatoes are, they are a humble crop. They are an inexpensive crop. They are easy to come by, inexpensive to purchase, easy to grow in a lot of different parts of the garden, and need to be out in the sunshine, so they would take up space in other parts of the garden. And it just didn't seem like that was really a worthy use for something, frankly, that was so expensive to purchase, and that I was really looking forward to harvesting higher value crops from. And so the idea of growing oyster mushrooms or wine cap mushrooms in this tower was really exciting. So I ordered some oyster mushrooms and some wine cap mushrooms, both of which grow well in straw, from North Spore Mushroom something. I'll put a link to them down below. I like them. They were recommended by Brown Sugar Farms and a couple other places as a good supplier. So I'll put their link for anybody who wants to get started. They make it really easy to try out mushroom farming in a lot of different capacities, including buying inoculated sawdust that can then be used in a variety of ways. So that's what I did. I got a pink oyster mushroom and a yellow oyster mushroom, one of which is now in the tower, the yellow oyster mushroom, and then in this ground space here is the pink. So theoretically, pink oyster mushrooms will fruit from the ground and yellow oyster mushrooms from the tower. Now, I say theoretically because I have not yet succeeded in having them grow. It's only been a little over a week since I put them in. They take at least 3 weeks to fruit. And I made a classic beginner's error, at least with the pink oyster mushrooms. One of the reasons I chose pink oyster as opposed to some of the other varieties is that it specifically does well in the heat. And here in Davis, in the Sacramento Valley area of Central California, our summers are super hot and super dry. And so I thought that's a good idea, get something that can deal with our heat. However, the flip side of that is that they do not do well in cold. In fact, they need it to be about 50 degrees or higher in order to grow and not just die. And I didn't think about that because I was so excited to get this project going. And so we're having an unusually cool and unusually wet spring. I definitely welcome the rain, the extra rain we've been getting. We are in an area that tends to drought. But in the week that I planted it, we were still, getting lows in the low 40s. And so it's possible that my pink oyster mushroom spore in the ground has died and will not fruit. I do have about a third of the box left, so I'm going to give it at least another 3 weeks. And if I get nothing, I will try again with the rest of what I've got. The yellow should be fine. It can deal with lower temperatures. In fact, you keep the leftovers in the fridge. So that implies to me that it should be okay with the low 40s that we've been getting. And so I still have good hopes for the garden tower planting with the yellow oyster mushrooms. So I will update you. I will let you know how this goes one way or the other. If it's a total fail or if it's a total success or somewhere in between, I will let you know. And one way or the other, I will try again because, mushroom farming is something that, like anything else, has a learning curve to it. I've never done it successfully before. There's, certain ways in which it's simple and there's other ways in which it's particular. There's particular needs that these organisms have that are different than plants and that are different from each other. Each variety has very specific needs and, it's a learning curve like anything else. So I'll definitely try again if this doesn't work. In fact, I'm on round 2 of trying the wine caps. I made a whole different mistake my first time doing the wine caps that I'll maybe tell you about when I do the full garden tour and show you that section. But at any rate, I will let you know how this goes. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, feel free to drop them below. I'm happy to share my very limited experience, just keeping in mind I'm a total novice at this particular garden endeavor. If you have recommendations for me, if you have successfully grown oyster mushrooms or wine caps or any other variety of mushroom that you've grown outside in your garden, I would love to hear about it. I'd love your encouragement and your suggestions and your teaching. Maybe answer questions that other people drop down below. A comment section on a video like this can become a place with a lot of shared wisdom and a lot of community exchange of information. So let that be so. I'll give you an update as soon as I have one. In the meantime, thanks so much for being along with me on my gardening journey, on my Reiki journey, on the ways in which those things intertwine with each other in my life, perhaps in your life, and out in the world. And as you go from here into your day, into your gardening endeavors, or wherever your footsteps will lead you, may you be deeply provisioned for that journey. Thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, I love you. Goodbye.